Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Lane One Making Waves. This week on the podcast, we have swimming superstar Becca Mann. Within this conversation, we touch on her early success in the pool, qualifying for Olympic trials at the age of 13, and finaling in multiple events at the young age of 13, to discovering her love for open water, where she took her open water journeys to that 21-hour long swim in the ocean where she covered 40 miles. She has a new book coming out April 1st, so be sure to pre-order and order and stay tuned for more. So today with me, as I said, I have Becca Mann. Becca has such a great and extensive history in the sport, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun and answer a lot of questions that'll help age group swimmers, open water swimmers, and anyone really interested in the sport. So first off, I just like to start with your journey in swimming. I know everyone kind of gets started at a different age. So how did you first get involved in the sport, and what made you fall in love with it?
Okay, my entrance into the sport was it was kind of out of spite. My older sister Rachel was joining the swim team, and I had to do everything that she did. And she was joining it because my parents would do triathlons for fun. They weren't good, they would just do them for fun. And they needed somebody to watch us during the triathlons. So the second that we were old enough, they're like, okay, we're just gonna put them in the triathlon so they can race while we're racing.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
time for my sister to go do the triathlons with them. And I didn't want to be left out. So she joined the swim team so she could swim. And I didn't know how to swim. But I asked my parents, I'm like, can I join the swim team with Rachel because I have to do everything that she does? They were
Mhm.
like, you don't know how to you can I could survive, but that was it. They're like, you don't know how to do freestyle. Like, no. So I was dropping her off at the pool and I just packed my swim bag and didn't tell anyone. And then when she went in, I waited until no one was watching and I snuck in behind her. And then that was kind of just my entrance into swimming. And then they put her in my group because I refused to be
Yeah.
alone.
Mhm.
But then 2 days later, they were like, okay, Rachel, we're moving you into the group of people who actually knows how to swim, not these people who are these 4-year-olds who are learning how to swim.
Yeah.
And they took her away from me. And I started screaming bloody murder. But nobody budged. They were like, no, you're going to be here. She's going to be over there. That's
Mhm.
just the way it's going to be. So then, in that moment, I vowed to be good enough to swim in her lane.
Yeah.
And I just kind of loved the challenge of trying to get into Rachel's lane.
Mhm.
And I think it took me over a year, but I eventually made my way there. And that was honestly the best moment of my life. That was my biggest accomplishment, me getting into Rachel's lane.
No, I think a lot of siblings have similar stories with that. I know it's crazy that you say that because I remember the moment that my sister switched age groups. I bawled my eyes out every
Yeah,
single day before practice to the point where I refused to swim for a really
it's
long time.
traumatic.
I said I was sick. I didn't want anything to do with it until they're like, okay, you're kind of good, we'll move you up. And all of a sudden I was like, yep, I'm fine. And this is where I belong.
Yeah,
But you kind of touched on something in there where you said you like the challenge. And I mean, you can kind of see that throughout your history in the sport of swimming, throughout the open water and all the
yeah,
insane distances that you've covered. You made a name for yourself very early on in your swimming career from the age of 10 when you did the swim in Maui for, I think you said it was 6 hours, which is
yeah, 6.5.
absolutely insane. As a 10-year-old, I didn't even want to swim more than 500 yards. So what were some of those breakthrough moments that helped you kind of establish your world in competitive swimming?
I think that I would say that the Maui channel from Lanai to Maui, that was one of them, just because that was another thing where my mom wanted to swim that channel. And I was like, no, I'm the swimmer of the family. It has to be me.
Yeah.
Um, and I that was a very pivotal moment because when I finished that, I was like, oh, I can do these
Mhm.
difficult things that other people are telling me I can't do. When
Yeah.
people tell me I can't do something that's a challenge, that means that I should try to do it and I should try to prove these people wrong.
Mhm.
And from there, I kind of just set my sights on the national age group records.
Yeah.
And from there, it was always small goals. It was big goals, but small goals within those big goals.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, why shouldn't I be the fastest 11, 12-year-old ever? Why shouldn't I be the fastest 13, 14-year-old ever? And I think that looking at it that way, I would reach these milestones and not realize how much ground I was covering until like I was suddenly an elite swimmer.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy that you say that because like we have very similar backgrounds in the sport of swimming to where I used to study those national age group records. I used to
Yes.
study the top 100 list because I wanted to be up there and I wanted to be the first one up there and I wanted everyone else to see that I was going to be the first one up there.
Yep.
And it's so important
They're
mentally.
mortal enemies.
Yes, it's so important mentally to have that mindset to where, nothing is impossible. If, like you said, if someone says something is difficult, you're like, nope, it's not. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Getting thrown into the mile from such a young age and being successful with it, we didn't really look at that as being, you know, this lighthearted swim. We took everything that we did seriously.
Yeah.
And so I know, kind of touching on your history in the sport, you were homeschooled up until you went to college. So, what was the most challenging part about balancing, school, training, and staying focused and motivated in the sport?
I think that I would say that swimming came before school for me.
Hmm.
Um, and I know this sounds terrible, but I was like, I love learning things, and my parents were very aware that I loved learning things. So, like, every time I'd go on a national team trip, they'd have my teachers like teach me about the country that I was going to. Or like whenever I told them that I wanted to write a book. So they were like, okay, like we're gonna make that one of your classes. Like just keep, and they knew that I would write for like 2 or 3 hours every day. So they were like, okay, just keep doing that. And like that will be like a class. And then
Hmm.
you learning about these like different cultures that you're going to be experiencing, that will like be a class. And then I had to take Spanish too, which I didn't love because I didn't love my Spanish teacher. But that's another story. Um, and then like I tried to get math done as soon as possible because I didn't like that. So
Yeah.
like by the time I was done with freshman year, like I had all the NCAA math things checked off. So it was kind of an untraditional school, like schooling path. But I feel like I learned everything that I needed to know. So I was prepared for college. Oh, except I didn't know how to like write college essays. So
Oh
when I
no.
went to yeah, I had this class and they were like, okay, like write an essay about, I don't even remember what it was. It was like history of international cinema or something. And
Hmm.
I think I just wrote like a short story and I turned it in and like the professor was like, Becca, come here. I was like, yeah. And he was like, what is this? I was
That's
like,
what
oh,
you
it's
asked for.
an essay. And he was like, no, it's not. This is a story. I was like, what do you mean? So yeah, I had to have someone teach me how to do that. But like I feel like I was well prepared in that like I just kind of looked at life as a learning experience. And then by the time I got to college, I was like, okay, I feel prepared for this.
Yeah, and I mean, swimming kind of teaches you so much. I mean, it teaches you the things that you need to be successful in college or even in a career setting. So, like time management, discipline. I know we touched on the mental aspect of it. If something comes your way and it's challenging, you're just going to do it.
Yeah.
So you eventually went on to swim at USC for 2 years, and as I touched on, you had a amazing career as a young athlete. You went to Olympic trials, I think, when you were 13, and multiple events and finaled in multiple events, which is unheard of. What was it like navigating the transition from, age group swimming when you were swimming with your sister, to elite level competition?
Well, I think so. There was one really big transition when I was 13, and that was when I moved to Florida. So my family is from Chicago. My parents still live there. And I asked my parents if I could move and convince them that like it was a good idea.
Yeah.
So they let me. And like I always had a parent or like a family friend or like my grandma. Someone was always with me. But it was like my first time out on my own. And it was actually like much harder than I realized it was going to be. So then like swimming, there was this pressure where I was like, okay, I sacrificed my family for this goal. I need to make sure that I achieve this goal.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of it was a lot, but also like I'm generally pretty good with pressure. So I was like, okay, like I will make sure that this was worth it. So I would say that that was like the first big pivot where I was like, okay, I'm an elite swimmer. I need to act like an elite swimmer. I need to make sure that like I don't waste a single practice. And
Hmm.
then I kind of got like obsessed with swimming, probably to an unhealthy degree, like during that time because I
Same.
needed to make the sacrifice. Yeah, worth it. So that was like, I would say that that was when I considered myself like, okay, like I'm an elite professional swimmer. And
Yeah.
then college. So like going on to college, I was actually coming off of getting really overtrained in 2016. So I went the summer before, I didn't swim at all. I needed some rest. And then when you get into college season and it's kind of easy, like the first few months where it's
Yep.
just like chill and everyone's just like not really doing anything. That
Mhm.
was perfect for me because I like needed time to recover and like
Yeah.
get back to my normal self. Um, but then college swimming, it was a sprint-based program, which I generally thrive in distance-based programs. So I didn't exactly achieve what I wanted to achieve. And also like I was seeing the world for the first time because like everything in my life had been so one-dimensionally focused on swimming before that,
Yeah.
that all of a sudden I was like, oh, like I'm back in school for the first time since sixth grade. Like this, I'm learning new things. Like I'm meeting people who haven't just stared at this black line all day.
Mhm.
And I loved that part of it. Like I loved learning. I loved school. I loved like I took the most random classes, which was so much fun. Like I was in painting, piano,
Yeah.
bass, hip hop. Like I was in all of these weird classes and I was just like learning what I liked. I was like learning who I was outside of swimming. So
Mhm.
that part was fantastic. But in doing that, like my swimming suffered because I wasn't like, okay, I will swim, I will nap, I will swim, I will eat,
Yeah.
I will sleep.
Mhm.
And also like I wasn't doing the training that I was doing before. So yeah, college swimming was definitely like an interesting time of my life, but
Yeah.
a great time of my personal life.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on something really important, and that's the aspect of overtraining. I think as distance swimmers, there's always a point in your career where you kind of either hit a plateau or you hit a point where you don't truly love it. And it's really difficult to give something your full focus if you're no longer in love with it.
Yes.
Um, and especially with college, you're coming to this new environment. As you said, there's people from all over the world, all different spectrums, all different interests that you're making friends with and you're learning about for the first time. So it's a very overwhelming but rewarding experience at the same time. How would you say college training differed from what you were typically used to in your age group years?
Okay, this is going to sound so like small and ridiculous, but they didn't write out the whole practice before.
Oh,
I need to see the whole practice before. Like I
okay. Yeah.
hate not being able to see like what the main set is before I get in the water. Like I want to know what I'm warming up for.
Hmm.
Um, and I had always had a practice like written out before, like I would
Yeah.
jump in school. So that was like a big mental hurdle that I never got over. Like
Yeah.
I would ask the coaches, I'd be like, "What's the main set?" And they're like, "We don't like, don't worry about it. Like you'll get there when you get there." I'm like, "No, I need
I
to know
need to
now.
know.
I have to know now. I need to know like what I'm warming. Should I be warming up my fly? Should I be warming up my free? Should I be doing backstroke? Like what should I be doing?" Um, so that was like a really weird mental hurdle that like kind of would set the scene of every practice where I would feel unprepared,
Hmm.
which I know is ridiculous. And like I probably could have learned the tools to deal with that. But instead of doing that, I was like just flustered the whole time about like what I was doing.
No,
Um,
I completely get it because I come like my club coaches, we always had a printed workout. We'd put it on the
yeah.
wall. It had warm up all the way until warm down. It had your rest. So you
Yeah.
knew exactly what you're going to be doing, when you're going to be doing it, and when you were getting out of the water. And I was the
Yeah.
same way. I liked to know everything, probably to an unhealthy degree that it's also like kind of transitioned into my personal life as well. Like I need to know the plan. I need to know what we're doing.
I'm so with you. Yes.
Like anxiety attacks will happen if I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. So I completely get it. We had a couple of practices where my coach also wouldn't tell us what we needed to be doing. And they always say that it's because they want you to give everything your all while you're doing it because you don't know if it's your last one. But I
Right.
need to know if it's my last one or not.
Exactly. Yeah. I will be giving my all regardless. Just let me
Yeah.
know like what I'm giving my all in preparation for. And
You'll get a
yeah.
happier swimmer. You'll get a faster swimmer. I promise it'll be worth it. Just please let me in on the secret.
Yeah. Like I even want to know if I'm getting a minute between each round or like 20
Exactly.
seconds. Yeah.
Yes, no, it matters, especially in distance swimming when practices can range from anywhere from 5,000 yards all the way up to 10 to 12. You're like, which one are we getting today, please? So kind of transitioning from pool to open water swimming. When did you first discover open water swimming and discover your love for it?
I would say that that was kind of like because when Rachel joined the swim team, like it was kind of just for to have a babysitter during triathlons.
Hmm.
Um, it was always there because like open water is the triathlon. I don't know what I was saying. Um, because triathlon, the swim is in open water.
Yeah.
So my family was always like, we loved open water. We were always in the ocean growing up. It's just so much more fun than pools to me. Like I love the adventure of it. So I always kind of knew that it existed. And then it it's so much more suited to my personality than pool swimming because I love that there are variables. Like you need to adapt, you need to be good with not having a plan.
Yeah.
And it's really like beautiful that you could be in a very still ocean with no waves, no conditions. You could be in like 20-foot waves with like rain pouring down. I think that like the swimmers who are really great at open water are generally the people who are really good at life.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can like take anything that's like thrown their way and just like adapt to it and learn to thrive in it.
Yeah. And I mean, even within open water swimming, like I know I've done a couple of 10Ks, but that's nothing compared to the types of open water environments that you've been in, touching from like the 25Ks at Worlds to the 21-hour swim that you completed, which is something that I cannot even fathom, swimming for 21 hours. And I read a few articles that you wrote about it, how like your mindset shifted from the start and the middle and the end. You kind of go through a whole whirlwind of emotions. Can you kind of touch on that swim a little bit?
Yes. So I wanted to do it because I knew that like I was planning on not swimming for a while.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do something that no one had done before.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to do something that I wasn't completely sure that I could do.
Hmm.
So I found the swim. I talked to Steve Munatones, he was the head of the World Open Water Swimming Association. And I was like, what's something that you think that I can do that like either hasn't been done before, or that you like think I could do a record in that I can get a record in that will be really hard for me to do? And he was
Yeah.
like, I have the perfect thing. And it's set up in a triangle. So like one of the legs at least was going to have a really tough current. So I needed to have both speed and endurance.
Hmm.
Um, and then so I like loved the idea of this. And I loved the idea that maybe I wasn't going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But then as I got in, it was really interesting because it was definitely an emotional roller coaster. I think I felt every single emotion ever in those 21 hours. Um, but yeah, like people asked me like what it meant to me. And for a while I was like, I don't know, because like my life didn't change afterwards.
Hmm.
And like, I suspected that I'd be able to do it. And then I was like, okay, yeah, like I did do it, and that's cool. But then like the more
Pretty cool.
yeah, and the more I thought about it, I was like, it was just fun. Like it was
Yeah.
fun to see if I could overcome this challenge. It was fun to see if I could like keep going even when my brain was like trying to convince me that like I had died and gone to hell and was
Hmm.
like eternal suffering, that I could like just keep swimming through that, or like that I could keep swimming when my brain was like, you're God, like you're the ruler of the world, and that like
Yeah.
I could just keep going and then suddenly like be in a downward spiral and then like be back on top of the mountain, and that like I could decide in my brain that like, okay, once you get to hour 12 you're allowed to have a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Like I think it was just
Like
like
spacing it
really,
out.
yeah, it was just really interesting to me that like I could and couldn't control my emotional state.
Hmm.
um and I let me reword that.
Yeah.
The fact that I couldn't always control my emotional state, but despite that I could control the fact that like I could keep swimming.
Hmm. Did
So
you train for it at all, like beforehand, or was it just something you kind
oh,
of decided on a whim? Oh my goodness.
I just decided, I was like, okay, I've been training for this my whole life. I'll be fine. So I think that like it was mostly mental.
Yeah.
Because like the physical part, I was like, okay, 5 hours of swimming for like most of my life every day, I'll
Hmm.
be okay. Like I know that I could physically do it. And
Hmm.
it's just one day in my life. That's what I
Yeah.
kept on telling myself. I was like, one day in my life, I just need to be able to like mentally take this on.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely incredible. Because I've always wondered kind of like the training that goes behind it. And sometimes it makes you wonder, like, if you do end up training for something that long, if almost you will get into that overtraining cycle to when you start the race, it's not as you don't love it as much as you did before.
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
really happy with my lack of training.
it turned out well. I mean,
Yeah,
20 hours,
exactly.
it's how many miles was it total?
So it was 40 miles.
Oh my goodness.
It was crazy because like parts of it, I'd feed every 20 minutes. So like every 20 minutes I'd talk to the boat like while my feed was thrown to me.
Hmm.
And I thought that I was probably covering like I'm like, okay, I must be covering like a 1200 at least, like during these 20-minute increments.
Yeah.
And finally halfway through, I was like, okay, how much did I cover during those 20 minutes? And they were like a 400. And I was like, are you kidding me? I've gone
Heartbreaking.
400 in these 20 minutes.
No, I mean, that would be, I'd be almost scared to ask, be like, how
Yeah.
far now? Like,
And
are we
then I
doing
started getting,
this?
I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask for like another 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I
Years later, they
also
were like, "You've got a
read
6K."
I read that the kayaks had like lasers or like shocking for
Yeah,
sharks.
they had like shark shocker things. It was like this long, like rope-like thing that like hung off the back of the kayak. I guess it like created a force field for sharks.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't know if they work or not. I was just like, whatever. They'll if a shark comes, like they'll deal with it. I'm
Like
just gonna
they'll do their
like,
job. Yeah,
yeah.
you had your job and everyone else had theirs. That's absolutely insane. What was it like swimming at night?
I loved swimming at night. It was so
Really?
much fun. Yeah, when the sun, because I'd never swum at night before,
Hmm.
and when the sun set, I had like my own little Moana moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna sing like how far I'll go and look at the sunset, and like it was so much fun. I was like, this is amazing. I've never swum at night. I'm going to be swimming at night, like new experience.
Yeah.
And then when things started getting hard, I remember I like turned onto my back because I was like, okay, I need to like recollect myself.
Hmm.
And I looked and the moon hadn't risen yet. And it was like pitch black outside. And all of the stars, since there was no light pollution, were shining so brilliantly that I felt like I could see the entire galaxy.
Oh my
And it
goodness.
was one of the best moments of my life. Like I felt like I could reach out and touch them. It
You're
was the
making
most
me want to try it.
you should. Okay. Honestly, totally could do it.
No,
You
I'm
have just wing
scared of the
it. Just wing
dark.
it. Don't swim. You'll be able to do it.
I'll need you as my guide. We'll start with
Okay,
something
I'll do it with
very
you.
small, just like an hour swim, like at midnight.
Okay, perfect.
Oh,
I'm
that's
in.
crazy.
Yeah, it was really like, and then after that, I was kind of like in a sensory deprivation tank because then I had like 12 hours of just darkness.
Yeah.
Also, like it was both peaceful and at points terrifying when I thought I had died and gone
Yeah.
down. Yeah, it was really
When,
a great a great experience that I'm so like I feel very grateful to have done that.
yeah. What were the emotions when you finally finished, when you finally saw the shoreline and you got to stand up for the first time in hours?
It was funny because I got there and I was just like, okay, like I'm really happy I don't have to get back in the water.
True swimmer.
Yeah, I was like, and I like looked at the water and I was like, oh, I did that. Like that's really cool, but I was too exhausted to like
Yeah.
feel any like
Hmm.
positive emotion. It was more like just I was content. I felt
Yes.
very content and I felt like alive in that contentment.
Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like as like swimmers and especially like swimmers at the high level, we have a hard time celebrating our accomplishments just
Yes.
because we know that we can always achieve more, or even when we do something that we set out to do, we're like, okay, I wish I would have done it faster.
Yeah.
To the point where
Like a
it's
lot
hard
of the
to
times we're like,
reflect.
oh, what's the next thing?
Yep. Yeah. And so like just looking back on it, do you have a different take on it now than when you just touched?
Well, it's interesting because after I did it, I was like, I would definitely do that again.
Mhm.
I thought that immediately after, and I was like, okay, that means that I will be doing something like that again.
Yeah.
I do sort of feel the itch coming back a little bit.
Mhm.
So I think that there will be more long distance, like long channel swims in my future. I don't know when yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, I
I'll know
feel
it's in 6 days notice.
yeah. Exactly.
What are the biggest differences between open water and pool swimming, both physically and mentally?
I think that pool swimming is very like precise. It's very like
Hmm.
you are down to like the hundredth of a second. Everything
Yeah.
has to be like, very precise, perfect. It's all very contained.
Hmm.
Um, there's like a lot of like perfection that goes into it. Well, open water I think is a little messier. Like
Yeah.
messier, dirtier. Like it's about grit rather than precision.
Yeah.
And because like if you're in a 10K with like a field of international competitors, like everybody wants to be in the same spot. There's going to be like there are going to be elbows in your face. There's going to be like lots of strategy, lots of swearing,
Yeah.
lots of like interesting. There's
I
just so
love
much.
distance swimmers.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and even like with the channel swims, that's all about grit too. And it's
Hmm.
about like adjusting your stroke for the waves and like making sure that you conserve at the right times and sprint at the right times
Yeah.
and that you have a strategy and that you're not being stupid.
Hmm.
While like pool swimming is just like, okay, I just have to go and I have to hold on for as long as I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're very like they're two sides of the same coin, but very different at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember when you're like, I need to know the set, I need to know exactly what's going
Yeah.
on. And then you kind of touch on open water, Becca, and you're like, I love how
Like,
anything
I
could
don't need to know what's
happen,
going
like
on.
throw
Yeah.
me in there. Do you find that it is kind of two different versions of you that approach those events?
That's really interesting. I haven't thought about that before, but I would say definitely because there is a side of me that's like very, like the perfectionist side of me, and that's
Yeah.
the part of me that loves pool swimming. And
Yeah.
then there's the messy side of me where I'm just like, I want to just be thrown in there and I want to see what I can do with like just like my will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've done quite a lot with it.
Thank you. But yeah,
Um,
I love open water. I think open water is like my true love of swimming.
yeah.
I think that like represents what I love about swimming. I love the grit. I
Mhm.
love that form of swimming
Yeah.
more so. So
Yeah.
I think that it's like a reminder to lean into the messy, to like lean into the like perfection's overrated. And
Hmm.
sometimes you just have to like throw yourself into the ocean and be like, okay, like let's see how long I can swim for.
Keep going. No,
Yeah,
it's
no sharks eat
crazy. I feel like open water swimming over the past couple of years has definitely grown. I
Yes.
know when I was younger, it was kind of where we had a couple of 10Ks, but it wasn't really anything that was prominent or anything that like whole clubs went to. Now we have open water junior nationals, which has always been a thing, but we see whole clubs going to it. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to young swimmers who are kind of wanting to make a name for themselves in the open water world?
I would say don't shy away from it. Like embrace the 10K,
Hmm.
embrace the fact that it's going to be really hard, that you're going to learn things about yourself, that you're going to be challenged, and see what happens at the end. I would say also like don't let your first impression of it, like when you climb out of the 10K, a lot of the times you're like, I never want to do that again.
Yep.
Give yourself a few days to think about everything that happened during that 10K. And I have a feeling that you'll be thinking, okay, actually, I would try that again. And maybe if I do this thing differently, I won't experience this one thing that happened that made me hate that 10K.
Yeah.
And I might have a better time, perform better. I might learn to love it.
Yeah. And there's so many learning opportunities within open water swimming just because of how long it is. I mean, you're trying to eat right the day before to make sure that you're not having stomach issues. You're making sure that you're getting enough carbs before, during, and after, making sure you're hydrated. So I personally love how many elements go into it that pool swimming doesn't necessarily have. I mean, yes, you still have the nutritional aspect of it, but like you touched on, just the mental grit, getting yourself from point A to point B is something that I think a lot of pool swimmers, until they try open water swimming, don't really understand.
Yeah, for sure. And that's
Uh,
another like fun part of it, I think.
yeah, no, like I said, it's giving me the itch to get back in the pool. It's been a little bit, but now
Right.
I'm like, I should do open water. I should try it. Um,
The other thing is that endurance doesn't peak for athletes until their mid 30s.
yeah.
So Summer, now is the time for you to get into open water swimming.
Oh boy, I might make a trip out to North Carolina. I've been
Do
meaning.
it. Come train with us. We have a lane for you.
Oh boy, already a lane. I need to buy a new
Water
suit.
nationals. Yeah.
We've had a lot of success, obviously, as you touched on, in the pool, in the ocean, and channels. I know outside of swimming, you've also found a passion for writing. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey and how you discovered that creative outlet?
So I loved reading growing up. Like any fantasy novel I could get my hands on, I was going to devour it. And then as I was reading, I was like, wait, I could do this too. Like, this is my way to, all I wanted was to like be a warrior with like a sword in a fantasy land and like a
Yep.
dragon. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I
okay,
love
well,
dragons.
yes. I was like, okay, this is not a viable career path, but I can create these worlds. Like I can do it through writing.
Yeah.
And so then like through all these books, I was like, okay, like maybe I'll try doing this. And I just loved it so much. Like I loved making my own stories because I hated when I'd read a book and then it would like end in some way that I didn't like, or like a
Yeah.
character would do something that I didn't agree with. And I was like, okay, I just need to make my own. I need to have full control over this.
Yep.
So then, yeah, I just started writing and I knew that I was supposed to do it. I like just knew that it was for me because my mind, like, as it would wander, like, regardless of what I was doing, it would always be like to these different like scenarios of different characters that, like, let me rephrase this too. Mind would wander and create fantasy worlds and like create different characters and like different situations and like relationships. And that's just kind of how like my brain functions as I move through the world.
Mhm.
Like random little things will just remind me of like, or will give me ideas of things that I could like put into a story.
Yeah.
That was just, that's kind of always been there. And I'm really grateful that I have that too, because when I was done swimming, that I was like able to, instead of like struggling with my identity, I was like, okay, I know that there's this other thing that I love doing, and I'm going to latch onto this as I figure out like what the rest of the world looks like. I know
Yeah.
that I'll always have writing. So it kind of was like it was the thing that I grounded myself in as I like stepped into this new world that I'd never seen before.
Yeah. Do you find that since you discovered your love for writing and swimming at a very young age, that it's kind of helped you balance the worlds of the two and make sure that you're not kind of putting all of your effort into one so that you have this kind of holistic lifestyle at the end?
Definitely. Because like, yeah, I think that I would have poured too much into swimming. Like I would have had a much harder time retiring from swimming without writing. I
Yeah.
know that like I mean it was hard enough like several years. Actually, like the first 2 years after I retired, I was pretty good because I was like finishing college. I was seeing everything for the first time. Everything was new, everything was fun. And
Hmm.
then after that, like I was like, wait, what is my day to day? Like
Yeah.
right now, I'm just seeing new things, like I'm experiencing new things. But what happens when I've like all the newness has worn off?
Hmm.
And if I didn't have writing, I think that that would have been a lot more difficult
Yeah.
because I was just like, okay, well, I can hold on to this thing and I can like find a career path with this thing that I love doing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, if I didn't have that, I think that it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah. And I mean, you touched on something really, really important. And that's like identity. So a lot of athletes, and I know myself included, when I stopped swimming, you kind of go through this crisis of like, all of a sudden you touch the wall and you're like, wait, 20, 25 years of just everything that you've put your whole effort and your whole life into is kind of just over. And you go through
Yeah,
a period of time where you're discovering who you are and you realize that it's not over. But it does take a long time to kind of come to that conclusion that just because you touch the wall doesn't mean that your whole character, your whole identity, all of that is over. You can still
yeah,
always come back to it or pour it into a different outlet.
for sure. And it's hard to see because swimming too, like you get so much more than just like the discipline and like all those skills. You
Mhm.
also get like this inherent drama that's built within it where it's like, okay, every month I'm going to be at a swim meet where I will face off with these people that I want to beat. Like I have to see these same people every day, like some of whom hate me because I'm faster than them, which means that I have to like there it's so dramatic, the lifestyle, that like you
Yeah.
kind of get, but not in an unhealthy way, in a way that's like very almost fulfilling because
Yes,
it's
the
like, okay,
competition of it all. You're like,
yeah, it's not like a toxic drama. It's like a drama in which you're trying to succeed.
yeah, it gives you that
And
drive and that motivation to keep going forward month after month after month.
yeah, and then in the real world, you don't really have that. Like you don't have
Mhm.
like this objective, like, oh, this is how I become the best. Instead, like everything is suddenly subjective and you don't have a ranking anymore. And it's just kind of
Yeah.
like the path, like the goals, the path towards your goals is much less clear.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think that that was like probably the thing that I struggled with the most, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you come from a place where almost your every move is kind of dictated by your sport and or what you're studying in college to having full autonomy over your day to day to what time you wake up to what time you go to bed. I mean, it's crazy kind of trying to readjust and become quote unquote a normal person, but I don't think swimmers can ever like become a normal person because it's just engraved so deeply into us to have those big goals and to have those desires that like we want to achieve well past the sport and even in our lives.
Yeah. But the good thing is that like you learn so many like fantastic traits as a swimmer
Hmm.
that you can take and like bring with you to other things. And like
Yeah.
once you find, and there's so much to do in the world, like the world is
Yeah.
so vast and beautiful that you will find like what you're meant to do. And then once you do, you've learned all of these skills, like regardless of if you reached your goals or not, that you
Hmm.
can like take to build something out of this new life.
Yeah. Which is just like incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and I know kind of going back into your writing journey, you've written a new book being
Yeah.
released April 1st. So could you share a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about, okay, you know how people are always like telling you, okay, if you just believe in yourself, you'll succeed. Like you'll make it, you'll do it. A lot of the time that doesn't happen. Like if you're telling like 50 girls who are all vying for two spots that if they just believe in themselves, they'll succeed,
Yeah.
only two of them are going to succeed. Like the rest of them aren't going to get that. So
Hmm.
it's a story of what it means to quote unquote not succeed, but
Yeah.
to go on a journey that makes you into a person um, that you're proud of and that you can view as that you're proud of so that you can view all of this as a success. It's also like a story of what goes on behind the scenes, like all of the struggles that elite athletes go through.
Yeah.
So like for me, a lot of it's about like having undiagnosed OCD and
Mhm.
thinking that like I was kind of crazy and like having like this mental illness that I didn't know how to deal with
Yeah.
while trying to be the best swimmer in the world.
Hmm.
And like how those two kind of like how I dealt with both of those and how swimming ultimately did help with my OCD, but also like made my OCD worse.
Yeah.
It's a story of the behind the scenes of an elite athlete and like the struggles that you don't always necessarily see.
Yeah.
Because all the time we only see like the glamour and like the glitz and the glory. Um, and we don't see the struggle and like the work and the blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
So it's a story of that, and it's a story for all the people who almost make it but don't quite.
I mean, that stuff is, I think, rarely talked about, and we're now finally coming into a place where it is more normalized to embrace the struggle and to talk about everything that's gone into those experiences. As you
Yeah,
said, I know so many people look at athletes who are on the highest stage and kind of degrade them if they don't quote unquote do the standards that they think they should. And it's so easy to do that if you don't know the person behind the sport.
for
And so
sure.
I can't wait to read your book because I'm so excited to learn the person behind the sport. And also, I know that it's going to help so many young athletes and so many athletes who are done with their career kind of have these epiphany moments and just lead a happier life knowing that all of the hard work and all of the struggles, even if you don't come out on top, are still worth it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited for people to read it too. I think that I had a lot of fun writing it, especially like I feel like it reads more like a fiction book than a
Mhm.
memoir, just because like I go into my mindset so often that like I kind of had to look at myself as a character and was
Yeah.
like, okay, these are my flaws, these are my wants, these are my needs. How do I look at Becca as a character and put her on this like journey without being attached to how I want to be perceived.
Yeah. Were
That
there
made it
any challenges or moments kind of self-discovery while writing the book that you didn't expect?
yes, I like as I was reading or as I was writing it, well first I had to rewrite chapters 1 and 2 like 100 times
Hmm.
because well chapter 1 in particular, I like needed to set things up and like set up the character, set up the goals and the stakes
Hmm.
all like in a chapter that was introducing you to the character and like the world. Um, so that just wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It took me forever. I finally got it to a place that I was happy with. So that was an interesting challenge. And then what I learned, so chapter two, that was right when I moved. Chapter two is about me moving away from my
Mhm.
family.
Yeah.
That was a really hard chapter to write. And I started out like just kind of glossing over the whole thing where I was like, okay, this part of my life was hard. So, anyways, and then I was like, I can't do that. That like
Had to go into
the
it.
book not satisfactory at the end. Like the ending wasn't satisfying. The book didn't make sense. And I was like, okay, fine. So like every chapter, every time I'd go back, I'd like go a little bit deeper, and then I'd realize I didn't go deep enough, so I'd go a little bit deeper again. But
Mhm.
then through doing that, like I feel like it healed something in me to
Yeah.
where I was like, oh, like okay, yeah, like this was a hard thing that I like had that I went through, but it like by the end of it, I was like, okay, I still got so many great things out of this move, like out of this part of my life. And I was able to like look at that part of my life without just seeing like the bad.
Yeah. Um, when you started writing the book and kind of touching back on your swimming career, do you find any parallels between the mindset required for swimming and writing? I know you kind of touched on how you needed to go a little bit deeper with regards to your move and how when you did your open water swimming, how you need to kind of go to this uncomfortable place. Do you find any parallels between the two?
Oh, that's interesting. Um, I would say yes. Like now I haven't thought about that before, but yeah. Thanks, Summer.
No worries, I gotcha. Uh,
um, yeah, like I feel like the uncomfortable places are often the places where we grow the most and where we like become the person that we're meant to be.
yeah,
And yeah, you definitely get both those in writing and swimming.
yeah,
I also feel like writing and swimming for me, like they're the perfect companions because the swimming, like swimming challenges the body and then writing challenges the mind.
yes.
And you can do one, like after doing one, I am like, it's like I want to do the other because I'm like, okay, my body is now tired. Now let me like tire out my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So looking back at your writing career so far, and even just your swimming career, what advice would you give to young swimmers and young writers starting out on their journey?
I would say have fun.
Hmm.
Like the fun is, don't let the fun get lost.
Yeah.
That's something that like I'm also really grateful for in my swimming career. I never lost the fun, except maybe in college. In college, I lost the fun a little bit, but the rest of it, I'm like, this is supposed to be fun. Like we're just seeing who can swim fast who can swim the fastest across a pool, or
Yeah.
like who can cross this body of water the fastest. It's
Hmm.
really like it's just a fun challenge. It's supposed to be like it's supposed to be gratifying. It's supposed to be rewarding. It's supposed to be like, just a little bit ridiculous. And don't let it be like anything more serious than that. Like
Yeah.
you can have your goals and you can like work hard and all of that, but remember that you're just seeing who can swim fastest across the pool.
Yeah, no, my coach always said in college, a happy swimmer is a fast swimmer. And I truly find that that's the best advice for swimming and also for life. I mean, you go into practice, and if you have this attitude or this mindset that you're unhappy or you don't want to do it, oftentimes those aren't going to be the practices that you succeed at. Sometimes they might, and you might surprise yourself. But oftentimes when I show up on the pool deck with a big smile on my face, music in my ears, that's when I swam the best and that's when I had the most fun.
Yeah.
To kind of go into a little bit of a wrap up, if you had to choose one swimming moment to really relive, what would it be and why?
Okay, so there's this one moment. This isn't even a race. This is just like a moment where I was in the water.
Hmm.
I was in Perth, Australia for this event called it was like the hashtag was called Super Serious Fun. I
Okay.
don't remember what it was actually called. I just call it Super Serious Fun in my head.
Yeah.
So I was swimming with like the Team USA open water team, and I was next to Eva Fabian, who was on the national team for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, and we were in like the clearest blue water I'd ever seen in my life. And I was just like the day was perfect. And we were like both kept on breathing and like looking at each other. And like I could tell that we were both so happy.
Yeah.
And Eva stopped me and she was like, Becca, can you believe that this is our life? Like that this is what we get to do every day.
Hmm.
And I was like, no, I can't. Like we're in Australia, swimming in the Indian Ocean on this perfect day. And I would like, it was just this feeling where I was of immense gratitude, where I was like, this is my life. Like, what a cool life that I get to live. And
Hmm.
then I remember after it, like Haley Anderson like dove down to the bottom and found like this pair of heart sunglasses that she gave to
Oh.
me that I still have. And then we went and got ice cream. And I was just like, that whole day, I was like, this is my life. Like I
Yeah.
get to travel and swim all day. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Um, and that's something that like I really like. I think about that moment a lot. I'm like,
Yeah.
I anchor myself to that moment. Like whenever I think about like the bad parts of swimming or like anything where I'm like not feeling like whenever I feel like swimming did me wrong or something, I think about that moment and I'm like, it didn't. That like I got to swim every day and just have fun.
Yeah. And I mean, so many people don't have the opportunity to swim every day or to compete in college or to compete at the national level or even swim as an age grouper. And so reminding yourself of those moments and the gratitude and love that you have for the sport. Like I'm getting chills just thinking about it because I have my moments like that where you look back on it and you're like, I absolutely love everything about it and everything that it's provided me.
Wait, I want to hear your moment.
My moment was a pool moment.
Okay.
It was nationals in between transferring. So I was in the process of transferring from FSU to NC State. And I had been on a very, very long plateau. Transferring was very, very tough for me. I went
Yeah.
home and I swam with my club coach with a bunch of 17-year-old boys for a whole semester, went to community college, and it was just a period in my life where I kind of blacked everything out and I don't even really remember that much from it.
Yeah.
But then I got to NC State and I trained there over the summer and I finally had my kind of like aha moment and this epiphany that I love this sport again. And I was swimming the 800. It was my first race of the meet. And if you know swimming, you know the first race can really kind of set the tone for the whole meet. I had no idea what to expect. I was like, this can either be really good, or it could go the other way. But I had this feeling and I was so happy to finally be racing again and to be surrounded by a team and by a coach that I dropped 10 seconds for the first time in 5 years. My coach was alongside screaming like this. Like I got the whole like, you did that. And like that moment is something that I'll always remember.
That's amazing. I love that.
My moment.
It's such a good moment.
And
It's
it's
like
just,
that same feeling. Yeah.
yeah, it's also the camaraderie of it. So I know your moment involved Haley Anderson and Eva Fabian, but it's also
Yeah.
just the camaraderie that swimming provides you that you might not see at the moment, but you have so many friends and you have so many people that are rooting for you, even if they're competing against you.
And yeah, for sure.
So outside of swimming and writing, what are some things that you love to do in your free time?
I have so many random hobbies.
I love that.
I was like, okay, so I've recently gotten into like backpack hiking trips where
Mhm.
like I'll go into the wilderness for 4 days or 5 days and like camp and like hike 60 miles.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's been my new thing. I recently did Mount Rainier. Um, I did Olympic National Park. I did the Holy Cross Wilderness in Colorado. I did
Uh-huh.
Catalina Island. So yeah, I just like I love that. I love hiking. I got into longboarding too, which is
Okay.
yeah. Like back when I lived in LA, I would just like skateboard down like the beach in Santa Monica for miles and it was the best feeling ever. Like very, very freeing. Um,
I wish I could do that. I actually tried longboarding for the first time like 3 years ago. And I
yeah.
kid you not, I'm probably the worst longboarder in history of longboarding because every crack in the sidewalk, I would fall. So I don't know
Okay.
how you do it.
Terribly unbalanced. You can ask anybody who has ever seen me do dryland.
Huh.
I'm terrible at dryland. Like I'm actually terrible. You
Mhm.
can definitely pick up longboarding. You just need to find a place where there are no cracks and then like
Yeah.
get your balance and then go to like the sidewalk where there are cracks and you'll be fine.
Okay. I have a longboard, so I'll put that on my list
But
of like
yes, do it.
smooth terrain.
Yeah. My other hobbies are like I just love traveling, honestly. Like any new place that I go to, I want to see everything. Like I want to I want to see every random street of every city that I go to. Like I just love exploring and wandering and like learning about different places and the people who live there, like learning about the culture. Um, I brewed kombucha for like a second,
Oh,
but then
wow.
yeah, it got shut down by my sisters. They came to visit me and they said that it smelled so bad that, well, then they told my parents about like how bad this like kombucha farm that I had in my kitchen smelled, that my parents told me that they would pay for me to shut down the kombucha. Like they're like, if you shut down your kombucha factory, we will buy all of your kombucha. I don't think that they don't anymore, which I should remind them about that.
Excuse
Um,
me.
yeah. That was fun. Yeah, I just like learning new things and finding like new adventures. Oh, I also got into cycling for a second, but then I have some herniated discs in my back, so that shut it down too.
It was like triathlon, you never know what's in the
Yeah, I
future.
wanted to do an Ironman.
So 70.3 or 140.6?
I wanted to do the full,
The
but
full,
then,
yeah.
I started running. My first day of running, my back started bothering me, and I was like, okay, this is not in my future.
I can say it does take a long time to get used to running. I wasn't used to being able to breathe all the time because we're so regulated by our breaths in swimming. You know when you're getting oxygen, when you're not. I was
Yeah.
like, I would almost hyperventilate because I had too much oxygen while I was running.
Wait, that's so weird.
Mhm. Just
And now, like,
swimming.
do you have a breathing pattern now?
Yes and no. Now it's kind of like muscle memory, but at first I was
Okay.
trying to breathe like every like 3 or 4 steps to try to compare it to swimming. I
Yeah,
found the more that I compared it to swimming, the easier it became.
that's fascinating.
Yeah. Fun
I feel
fact.
like you're the first person to ever say I breathe too much when I run. I
Yeah, I was
feel like
like,
everyone
I'm
else is
not
like
used to this
struggling for
influx.
air. Yeah.
And just lastly, I mean, we know your journey is far from over, both within the water and with your writing. So, what do you have going on next?
Okay, so I've been training for 3 months swimming
Mhm.
again. I have no okay, so I qualified for open water nationals like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I will be going to open water nationals. I don't know if I'll be getting first or last. It could be anywhere in between there because I have no like gauge of what it's like to not swim for 5 years and then suddenly start training again.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been dropping time like an age grouper, which has been so much fun.
Yeah.
And kind of just don't have any pressure or expectations. I'm just like going into it, gonna see how I do. So that's been really fun. I just missed it so much. And I was like, okay. I was thinking more and more about like how distance swimmers peak in their 30s. And I was like, this seems like the right time. Like I had my little break, I had my fun.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm ready to go back to like swimming all the time and seeing what I could do. So that's the future in the pool. And then in terms of writing, I think I might be having another book dropping this year at some point. That's
Ooh.
not, it will be fiction. So that's on the radar. Yeah, I'm still like working on some other projects. So yeah, just stay tuned on my writing projects.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to see everything that you have going on. I know it's been an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you and learn
Yeah,
more about your history in the sport. So just want to
I'm gonna be doing an interview with you on one of the next episodes.
reverse the script, everyone.
Yes,
Stay tuned.
I need every single question you asked me. I was like, I need to know the answer for summer.
No, I'm so excited to just like keep in touch with you and stay up to date on things that you're doing. Like you said, like taking a break from the sport after you're done swimming is so needed.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get a little bit of the itch again. I don't know if I'd ever do it like competitively because of the scars. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's so important to take time for yourself, and I'm so excited that you've kind of found that love again and to see what you
Thank
have
you.
next.
Yeah, well, we do have a lane for you in North Carolina. I'm
Oh
telling you.
my gosh.
You have your own
No
lane
one,
too. We always like have our like the whole pool when we train, and there are only four of us. So
no one wants to see that.
I want to see that.
So I just wanted to thank you again for coming on today, sharing your background and your journey in the sport. I know it's going to help so many and it's helped me and I can't wait to get back in the water because I know your story is truly inspiring and so many are going to learn from listening to this. So thank you.
Thank you, Summer. I've had such a good time.
All right, everybody, I hope you had a great time listening to Becca and I's conversation. I know I learned a lot about her history in the sport of swimming and all of the incredible things she's done for open water swimming. Be sure to pre-order her book. I know I am super, super excited for it to come out and to learn even more about her history in the sport of swimming. This podcast would not be possible without the International Swim Coaches Association as well as Swimming World. Please, please, please like, subscribe, and follow along to stay up to date on all things Lane 1 Making Waves. You can find us at these links here. Thank you, and catch you next time.